Danny Torrance had learned, long ago, that silence was never empty. People like to think of silence as a blank, something neutral, a pause between meaningful sounds. But Danny knew better. Silence had shape. It had intention. Sometimes it pressed in close, heavy as damp wool. Sometimes it kept its distance, watching. And sometimes it behaved itself so well that you forgot it was there at all. Those were the dangerous ones. The hospice room was quiet in the good way. The woman in the bed, Mrs. Kersey, breathed shallowly, each breath a little less committed than the last. The machine beside her clicked and hummed, a soft mechanical insistence that reminded Danny of a watch ticking in another room. He sat in the chair by the bed, hands folded loosely in his lap, shining pulled inward. Not off, never off, but banked, like a fire reduced to coals. "You're doing that thing again," the voice said. Danny did not look up. "I know," he replied. "I just do not want to rush it." The voice belonged to Dick Halloran. It came without sound. Exactly. No vibration in the air, no pressure against the ears. It was closer to a remembered voice than a heard one, but it carried tone and timing too precisely to be memory alone. Danny had stopped trying to define the difference years ago. Dick did not arrive the way other dead people did. There was no cold spot, no tightening of the skin, no sense of displacement. He did not announce himself. He was simply present, like a thought that had always been halfway formed. "She's ready," Dick said gently. Danny nodded. He could feel it too, the way Mrs. Kersey's fear had loosened its grip, the way her memories had begun to surface, bright and unguarded. Kitchens full of noise, a child's laugh, the smell of soap and sun-warmed sheets. Behind it all, waiting patiently, was the dark. Danny reached out with a shining, not pushing, never forcing, and guided that fear inward. He imagined one of the boxes in his mind, solid, labeled, familiar. He placed the fear inside and closed the lid, not destroyed, just contained. Mrs. Kersey exhaled one last time and did not inhale again. Danny stayed where he was. "That was good," Dick said after a moment. Danny let out a breath he had not realized he'd been holding. "I had help," Dick chuckled. "You always do." That felt true. It had always felt true. Outside, the night went on being night. Danny drove home with the radio off. He'd tried music once, soft stuff, instrumental, but it got in the way. Silence, the right kind, helped him think. The road stretched out ahead, dark and smooth, the yellow lines slipping beneath the headlights with a steady rhythm that threatened to lull him into something like peace. Dick stayed with him, not beside him, not in the passenger seat, not anywhere you could point to, but present all the same, like a warmth at his back. "You ever notice," Dick said, "how some towns feel like they've already made up their minds about you?" Danny snorted softly. "That's most towns. Not like this one." Danny waited. Dick did not rush stories. That was one of the reasons Danny trusted him. "It's called Derry," Dick said finally. "Maine." The name settled uneasily in Danny's chest. "I've never been there," Danny said. "No," Dick agreed. "You have not." There was a pause, not long enough to be suspicious, just long enough to feel intentional. "I was there once," Dick went on. "Long time ago. 62. Danny tightened his grip on the wheel. Dick talked about the army, about kitchens that smelled of grease and metal, about a general named Francis Shaw who believed, truly believed, that something old and wrong was buried beneath his hometown. He thought it could be used, Dick said. That was his mistake. Danny could feel the shining stirring, responding to the shape of the story even before the details filled in. There were kids, Dick said. There are always kids. What was it? Danny asked. Another pause, slightly longer this time. A predator, Dick said. Not like anything you'd put a name to easy. It learned fear the way other things learn language. And you stopped it, Danny said. Dick's voice softened. We slowed it down. He described the 13 pieces, meteor rock, old and heavy with something that did not belong to the earth. Hurt the thing, anchored it, kept it in place. But cages wear out, Dick said, and this one's starting to crack. Danny felt the road narrow, though it had not changed. You want me to go there, he said. Yes. Danny did not answer right away. Dick did not push. That, too, was part of the trust. Derry did not announce itself. There was no sign that made Danny's stomach drop, no sudden chill in the air. The town simply noticed him. He felt it the way you feel someone turn their head in a quiet room. The houses were ordinary enough. Clusters of old colonials, paint peeling in places, lawns gone a little wild. The streets curved in ways that suggested old decisions, paths chosen and never quite corrected. Water was everywhere, in the smell of rust, in the low places where puddles never quite dried. Danny parked near the motel and sat for a moment, engine idling. "You feel it," he said. "Yes," Dick replied. That should have been comforting. It was not. Children watched him as he walked. Not openly, not staring. Just enough to register. A boy on a bike slowed as Danny passed. A girl on a porch stopped talking mid-sentence. None of them smiled. None of them ran. At the canal, a small group had gathered, half a dozen kids, maybe more. Bikes lay on the ground. Chalk marks smeared the concrete. They felt tuned. Not shining like Danny, nothing so clean, but aware in the way people got when they learned early what not to look at too closely. "You're new," a girl said. She was thin, sharp-eyed. 13, maybe. "Just visiting," Danny replied. The kids exchanged looks. "People do not visit Derry," a boy said. "They pass it." Danny smiled faintly. "What's your name?" "Lena," the girl said. "Mark," said the boy. Others followed. One did not speak at all. None of them asked Danny's name. That bothered him. "You see things," Lena said. Danny hesitated. "Sometimes." "That's good," Mark said. "You might last." The word settled like dust. Walking back to the motel later, Danny felt the town as attention press in closer. "You still think this was a good idea?" he asked. Dick did not answer right away. "No," he said finally. "But it's the right one." Danny unlocked the door to his room. Behind him, Derry listened. The kids did not circle Danny the way predators did. They did not close in. They did not test him. They simply remained. Present in the same loose way the town was present, watchful without urgency. They sat on the concrete near the canal, legs dangling, bikes thrown aside like afterthoughts. Someone had drawn a hopscotch grid, the numbers smudged as if they'd been stepped on too many times by feet that did not quite touch the ground. "You staying long?" Mark asked. Danny shrugged. "Not sure yet." "That's what they all say," Lena replied. Danny smiled faintly. "Who is they?" The kids exchanged looks. The youngest boy, Tommy, Danny thought, though no one had said the name, shifted uncomfortably. "Grown-ups," Lena said. "People who think they are just passing through." Danny felt a flicker of something cold behind his ribs. They talked the way kids talked when adults were not around, about school, about a teacher who had gone missing last year and been replaced without explanation, about a storm drain where no one went anymore. Not because it was dangerous, because it was hungry. "You know about it," Mark said. Danny hesitated. "I know about places like this," he said finally. That seemed to satisfy them. As dusk settled, the kids grew quieter. One by one, they drifted away, leaving Danny alone by the canal. "Careful," Dick said softly. "With what?" Danny asked. "Listening too hard." Danny frowned. "That's new." Dick did not answer. The dream where the clown does not look back. The dream came the first night. Danny knew it was a dream because it did not argue with him. Reality always pushed back. Dreams accepted whatever shape fear gave them. He stood on a street that bent too sharply, the houses leaning inward like they were sharing a secret. Balloons bobbed in the air, red, bright, tethered to nothing. A child ran past him, laughing. The clown followed. It was wrong in the way all good lies were wrong, not exaggerated, not grotesque, just a little too clean. The smile too patient, the eyes too attentive. Danny tried to move, could not. The clown bent, whispering something Danny could not hear, and the child, as laughter turned into a thin, choking sound. Danny screamed. The clown fed, and all the while, it never once looked at Danny. He woke drenched in sweat, heart hammering. "It saw me," Danny gasped. "No," Dick said calmly. Not yet. Danny lay there shaking, staring at the ceiling. That should have been comforting. It was not. The second dream was worse. Not louder, not bloodier, just closer. Danny found himself standing at the edge of the canal this time. The water below moved slowly, thick and dark, reflecting the sky like a lie that had learned how to behave. He could smell it, rust, wet stone, something sweet underneath. A paper boat drifted past. A child's voice called from somewhere out of sight. Danny tried to turn his head, and could not. The clown stood knee-deep in the water now. It was not doing anything frightening. That was the problem. It hummed softly to itself, an off-key tune Danny almost recognized. Its back was still turned, its attention focused on something small and struggling just beneath the surface. Danny wanted to look away. He could not. The clown finished feeding. It straightened slowly, wiping its hands on its bright suit, and for the first time since Danny had come to Derry, it paused. Not in surprise, in consideration. It tilted its head. Then, very carefully, it turned. Its eyes met Danny's. The moment stretched, thin and unbearable. The clown smiled. Not wide, not sharp. Understanding. "Oh," it said, softly, almost kindly. Danny woke screaming. He sat upright in the motel bed, heart slamming against his ribs, the sheets twisted tight around his legs like restraints. The dark pressed in close, heavier than before. "It saw me," Danny whispered. "Yes," Dick said. The word landed wrong. Danny swallowed. "You did not sound worried." "I am," Dick replied. "But worry will not help us now." Danny rubbed his face with shaking hands. "It knows what I am. It always does, sooner or later." That did not help either. Danny lay back, staring at the ceiling, afraid to close his eyes again. Somewhere deep in the building, a pipe knocked rhythmically, like a pulse. For the first time since arriving in Derry, Danny felt something shift. Not the town, not the thing beneath it, himself. The days that followed settled into a pattern that felt almost normal. Almost. Danny met with the kids by the canal. They talked in half phrases and glances, sharing information without ever quite admitting what they were talking about. 2 more children were missing now. No one said their names out loud. The town responded the way towns always did, with denial, with shrugs, with lowered voices and locked doors. Dick stayed with Danny through it all, or so it seemed. At first, the changes were small enough to dismiss. A pause before an answer that felt a little longer than usual. A sense of reassurance that arrived a moment too late. The faint impression that Danny had finished a thought before Dick responded to it. Danny told himself he was tired, that the dreams were taking their toll, that the shining was acting up under stress. That happened. It had happened before. Still, one afternoon, sitting alone in the motel room, Danny realized he could not remember the sound of Dick's voice anymore. He remembered the shape of it, the calm, the warmth, the way it made his shoulders loosen without him noticing. But not the sound. That bothered him more than it should have. "You still there?" Danny asked quietly. "Yes," Dick replied at once. Too quickly. Danny frowned. He tried to picture Dick as he had been in life. Tall, solid, smiling easily. The image came, but it felt flat, like a photograph held too long in the sun. "You ever notice," Danny said carefully, "that you do not feel like the others?" There was a pause, not long. "Just different." "We've talked about this," Dick said. "Everyone comes back their own way." "That's not what I mean." Another pause. "I do not come back," Dick said finally. "I stay." The words sent a chill through Danny, sharp and unexpected. He almost laughed it off. Almost. That night, when the dream came again, the clown did not hunt. It watched. The name came without a dream. That was new. Danny was awake, sitting on the edge of the motel bed with his boots still on, staring at the thin strip of light beneath the door. Outside, someone laughed, too loudly, too long, and then stopped as if a switch had been flipped. The silence rushed back in. "Dickie," a voice said. It was not loud. It was not close. It was familiar. Danny's breath caught in his throat. His first thought, automatic, unexamined, was of Dick Halloran's old smile, the way he used to stretch the word doc like it was something warm. "That's not funny," Danny said. No answer. He stood, heart pounding, and crossed the room. The mirror over the sink caught his reflection, older, thinner, eyes ringed dark with sleeplessness. He splashed water on his face and straightened. "Dick?" he asked quietly. The name echoed inside his head, not repeated but rearranged, like a sound turned over to see how it worked. Dickie, Dickie, Dickie. The rhythm was wrong. Too playful, too pleased with itself. Danny pressed his palms against the edge of the sink until his knuckles ached. He reached inward, instinctively, for the boxes. He checked them one by one, not opening, just confirming the locks. Everything was where it belonged. The voice laughed, not out loud, not even fully formed. A sensation of amusement slid through his mind, intimate and unwelcome. "You do not get to call me that," Danny said. The amusement sharpened. "Oh," the voice replied softly. "But someone did." Danny straightened slowly. "You're not him," he said. There was a pause. A careful one. "I never said I was." The words landed with surgical precision. Danny felt something cold trace the inside of his spine. He tried to summon Dick, really summon him this time, not just reach out but call, the way he had as a frightened child in the Overlook. Nothing answered. The voice withdrew, satisfied. Danny sank back onto the bed, shaking. Outside, somewhere far away and deep beneath the town, something old and patient smiled. They went underground at dusk. Not because night was safer, Danny knew better than that, but because the town grew thin in the fading light, like a curtain pulled just far enough aside. The entrance was hidden behind a sagging maintenance shed near the canal. Rusted hinges screamed softly as Mark forced the door open. A set of concrete steps descended into darkness, damp and slick with age. Danny paused at the threshold. The shining recoiled. "This is it," Lena said. She did not sound afraid. She sounded resigned. "You do not have to come," Mark added. "We've done this before." Danny shook his head. "Not like this." They climbed down single file. The air grew colder with each step, heavy with the smell of wet stone and old metal. Danny's flashlight beam jittered across the walls, catching glimpses of chalk marks, symbols, arrows, names half smeared by time. Names. "Who taught you this?" Danny asked quietly. The kids exchanged looks. "Someone who did not stay," Lena said. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber. The stone waited. It was not large, no bigger than a washing machine, but it felt immense, dense with wrongness. Its surface was dark and pitted, veins of dull red light pulsing faintly beneath the crust. Danny's head rang. "That's one of them," he whispered. Mark nodded. "It's loose." They had chains. Old, rusted lengths scavenged from forgotten corners of the town. As they wrapped them around the stone, Danny felt a pressure build behind his eyes, a warning that had nothing to do with pain. "Once we move it," Lena said, "it'll notice." "It already has," Danny replied. They pulled together. At first, nothing happened. Then the stone shuddered. The pressure vanished. For a single, impossible second, the air felt clean. Danny gasped. Again. They pulled. The ground trembled. From somewhere deep in the tunnels came a sound like applause. The laughter followed, warm, delighted. "You always heard yourselves," the voice said. "That's my favorite part." The tunnel ceiling cracked. "Run!" Danny shouted. They ran. Concrete split and collapsed behind them, dust and debris roaring like a living thing. Danny felt the shining flare hot and blinding as he shoved it outward, holding the tunnel open just long enough. A hand slipped from his grasp. Someone screamed. Danny did not look back. They burst into open air as the tunnel caved in completely. The shed buckled and collapsed inward, swallowing the entrance whole. Silence fell. Danny counted heads. Too few. Mark stood beside him, face streaked with dirt and tears. "They are gone." Danny nodded numbly. "I know." That night, the laughter came again, faint, satisfied. Danny did not sleep.
He did not try. Danny stopped sleeping on the third night. Not all at once. Not dramatically, sleep simply thinned. It slipped away in fragments, minutes here, seconds there, never deep enough to forget where he was or why he was afraid to close his eyes. Before, the dreams had rules. Before, when the clown came, someone else was there too. Dick. Not as a shield, Dick had never fought Danny's battles for him, but as a presence that made fear negotiable. A reminder that whatever came out of the dark could be named, understood, managed. Now the dark came alone. Danny lay on the motel bed, eyes open, counting the faint cracks in the ceiling.
He listened to the building breathe, pipes ticking, a distant door opening and closing. Footsteps that might have been footsteps and might not. "You still with me?" he asked quietly. Nothing answered. He waited, heart hammering, then reached out with a shining, not forcefully, not pleading, just enough to touch the space where Dick had always been. There was no resistance, no warmth, no echo. That was wrong. Not the absence itself, spirits came and went, but the quality of it. The way the space did not feel emptied so much as unchanged, as if nothing had ever occupied it to begin with. The thought surfaced slowly, reluctantly, like something long held underwater. When did Dick arrive? Danny tried to remember. Not a conversation, not a warning. The moment, the first one. There was not one. Dick had not come to him the way other dead people did, through cold, through pressure, through that subtle displacement of air and thought that marked the boundary between worlds. He had not come from anywhere. He had simply been present. Like a voice that finished Danny's sentences. Like reassurance that rose before fear could fully form. Danny sat up abruptly, breath coming fast. "No," he whispered. "You are real. You helped me." The word helped rang hollow. He thought of the stories Dick had told him, about Derry, about the thing beneath it. How careful the words had been. How complete, without ever being specific. How comforting, how perfectly shaped. A memory surfaced, uninvited. "I do not come back," Dick had said. "I stay." Danny pressed his hands against his temples, feeling sweat slick beneath his palms. Real ghosts came from the outside. Whatever Dick had been, it had been waiting inside. The panic did not explode. It spread, slowly, thoroughly. Danny stood and paced the room, unable to sit, unable to lie down. If he slept, the clown would come. And this time, there would be no familiar voice to stand beside him and say you can handle this. This time, the voice would be the thing itself. From somewhere deep in the town, laughter drifted upward, too faint to hear, too precise to mistake. Danny stayed awake until morning. The road appeared just after sunset. Danny noticed it because he had not noticed it before. He stood at the edge of town, staring at a narrow strip of asphalt that curved up into the trees like a question mark. No sign marked it. No streetlight illuminated it. It was not on the map he had studied that morning. And yet, he knew exactly where it led. "You do not have to," Danny said aloud. The words sounded thin in the open air. The shining stirred uneasily, not recoiling, not advancing. Recognizing. He took the road. With every step upward, Derry loosened its grip. The sounds of the town, cars, voices, distant music, fell away, replaced by the soft hush of wind through pine needles. The air grew colder, sharper, carrying a scent Danny had not smelled in years. Old wood. Dust. Something sweet beneath rot. The first window appeared between the trees, glowing warmly. Then another. Then the slope of a familiar roofline. The Overlook Hotel waited at the top of the hill. Not whole, not right, but close enough. Danny stopped at the edge of the grounds. Snow crunched beneath his boots. Snow. It was summer. "You're getting better at this," Danny said. The front doors swung open. Light spilled out, golden and inviting. Warmth brushed his face like a remembered hand. A voice drifted from inside. "Doc." His father stood in the lobby. Jack Torrance looked the way Danny remembered him from the worst nights, eyes glassy, smile stretched too thin, something broken rattling behind it. "Come on," Jack said. "We've got work to do." Danny felt the shining surge, not wild, not desperate, but focused. "You're not him," Danny said. Jack's smile twitched. "Oh, I know," said the voice beneath the voice. "But he fits." The hotel leaned in. The doors closed behind Danny with a soft, final sound. And far below, in the dark under Derry, something laughed, not because it had won, but because the game had finally become interesting. They buried the missing kids without bodies. Derry was good at that. It had practice. Danny stood at the edge of the canal with Mark and Lena, the air heavy with the smell of wet leaves and rusted metal. Someone had tied ribbons to the railing, white, once. Now they hung gray and limp, like old bandages. No one cried. Crying required certainty, and certainty was the one thing the town never offered. This was not supposed to happen, Mark said. Danny shook his head slowly. It always is. The words tasted bitter. He had not meant them to sound final, but they did anyway. The shining felt bruised. Not diminished, never that, but raw. Like skin after a burn. Every emotion nearby pressed too hard. Grief, fear, denial, the quiet, poisonous relief of parents who had not lost their child this time. Danny felt responsible. He was responsible. That night, Pennywise came again. Not as a clown. Not as anything with edges. It was just a presence. Vast. Amused. Intimate. "You hurt me," it said. Danny lay on the motel bed, eyes open, every muscle locked. "Good." The presence shifted, pleased. "That was expensive," it replied. "Pain always is." Danny felt the weight of the words settle. The stone had moved, the cage had tightened, but at a cost measured in lives. "I'll remember this," Pennywise said. The laughter followed him into dawn. The Overlook changed while Danny was not looking. Hallways stretched where none had been before. Doors multiplied. The carpet pattern slid subtly beneath his feet, never quite resolving into the shape he remembered. It wanted him disoriented. Jack Torrance waited near the elevators, leaning on his cane, smiling with borrowed warmth. "Rough night, Doc." Danny did not answer. He reached inward instead. He had learned the trick young, learned it the hard way. Fear could be shaped, named, stored. The mind, especially one that shone, could build rooms stronger than walls. Boxes, he thought. He imagined them as he always had. Solid, clean, labeled. Each one a promise that what was inside would stay there. "You really think that's going to work?" Pennywise asked gently, Jack's mouth stretching wider than bone allowed. Danny ignored it. He closed his eyes. The shining flared, not wild, not desperate, but deliberate. He gathered the hotel's fear, the memory of blood on snow, the echo of laughter in empty rooms, and compressed it. Inside his mind, the box formed, bigger than the others, reinforced, built from sobriety, survival, and years of refusal. He pulled. The Overlook screamed. The sound was not loud, it was total. Every memory at once. Every locked door. Every night his father had not come back the same. Pennywise came with it. Not cleanly. Not completely. Enough. The box slammed shut. Danny collapsed to his knees, gasping. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then, laughter. Not mocking. Delighted. The box shook. "Oh, Danny," Pennywise said from inside his head. "You made this just for me." The lid buckled. "You do not lock me away," the voice whispered. "You give me a home." The box split. Jack's face melted into the clown's grin, red hair blooming like blood. "Dickie, Dickie, Dickie," Pennywise sang. "Did you miss me?" Danny screamed as pressure flooded him, something vast stretching against the limits of his self. "Run." Something inside him urged. Now. He let go, not of the fear, but of the need to contain it. The box shattered. Danny ran. The hotel convulsed as he tore through collapsing corridors, doors slamming shut inches from his hands. He burst through the lobby, through the front doors, and fell hard onto dirt and pine needles. Cold air hit his face. Real air. Behind him, there was no hotel. Only trees. Danny lay there shaking, afraid to close his eyes. From somewhere far below, laughter echoed faintly, satisfied, patient. He had not won, but he had escaped. Danny left Derry before sunrise. The town did not stop him. It never did. Roads were good at pretending they were neutral, and Derry had always understood the value of letting things go when it suited them. The sky was pale and unfinished, the kind of gray that suggested morning without promising it. Danny drove with both hands locked on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road ahead, afraid, irrationally, that if he looked in the mirror he would see something sitting in the back seat, smiling patiently. Nothing followed. That, more than anything else, told him the truth. He pulled over once, miles outside town, when his hands began to shake too badly to keep driving. He shut off the engine and sat there, listening to the cooling metal tick softly beneath the hood. He did not sleep. Sleep was still a door he was not ready to test. Maybe never would be, not the way he used to. That was all right. He had learned, slowly, painfully, that survival did not always look like healing. Sometimes it just looked like staying awake. He thought of Dick Halloran. Not the voice, not the warmth, not the thing that had stood beside him in Derry and spoken with such careful kindness. The real man, the cook at the Overlook, the one who had reached out across terror and distance to help a frightened boy understand what he was. The one who had died because evil noticed light and wanted it gone. "I'm sorry," Danny said aloud. The word Dickie tried to surface in his mind, light, playful, poisoned, and he pushed it down hard, refusing to let it take root. Names mattered. That thing used them like hooks. Danny started the car again. As the miles passed, the shining settled, not quieter, not weaker, but folded inward, guarded. He did not try to build boxes anymore. He knew better now. Some things did not want to be locked away. Some things just wanted to be watched. Behind him, far away, Derry went on being Derry. Children would be born there. Some would grow up. Some would learn early which streets to avoid, which drains not to look into, which names not to say out loud. The thing beneath the town hurt. Not enough to die. Enough to remember. It waited. It always had. Danny drove on, toward a day that might or might not forgive him, carrying the quiet knowledge that he had not saved the world. He had only saved himself. And sometimes, that was enough.